Well, hello everyone and welcome to Super Insider, Australian Retirement Trust podcast on all things to do with super, investment and retirement. My name's Kane. I'm filling in for our regular host, Anne, and today we've got a really practical episode for you about aged care. It's a very heavy topic. We're going to demystify a lot of things about that today. So we're joined by one of our regular guests, Mr. Justin Bott from Services Australia. So let's get into it. Now, before we do, anything you hear today is general advice or general information only. So you need to make that decision if what you hear is right for you. If you're new to Super Insider, have a listen to our back catalogue. If you're a regular listener, welcome along and make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell on YouTube if that's where you're joining us from. Now, for our regular listeners, you might remember Justin from Services Australia. Anything to do with Centrelink, age pension, aged care, Justin is the right person to have here today. So first of all, welcome, Justin. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me back.
Now, if anyone starts Googling aged care, the amount of information that comes up almost makes your head hurt straight away. Where do I start? So I'd like to start there. What are the types of aged care?
Yeah, so when people think about aged care, you're often just thinking about nursing homes and aged care facilities. And it's actually much broader than that. And there's quite a few services that are really designed to help you stay at home for as long as possible and give you the support to allow that to happen. So first look at home-based care, and it comes to two sorts of forms. There's the Commonwealth Home Support Program, and then there's home care packages. Now, the Commonwealth Home Support Program, it's a little bit different. It's not as intensive as the rest. It's for things maybe like support for meals at home, maybe somebody helps you with the gardening, a little bit of housework. So it's sort of that entry stage into the whole area. I don't really have a significant medical condition, but I do need a little bit of extra help. Commonwealth Home Support Program is for you. Next stage is a home care package. Now, home care packages, you actually do require an assessment of your needs and your medical situation. And that's actually 4 levels of types of support. And you sort of think of it like a shopping list with different aspects of services that you can provide. And the higher your level of support package, 1, 2, 3, or 4, the more you can get from that list of services. So if you're level 1, there might only be a couple of things. If you're level 4, you've got a lot of the range that you're able to then dip into. And that's much more intensive medical support and nursing support. So that could be including not just provision of meals, but it might be making sure that somebody's coming, checking your medication is being done, help fix bandages, help you with showering, cleaning the house, those sorts of issues. But again, both of those are designed to help you stay at home as long as you can. We've also got short-term care, and that could be for circumstances where you may have been hospitalised. You're not really ready to go home, but you do still need to be looked after. So there's a short-term after hospital care, give you a bit of time of rehab before you have to go home. Or if you are being cared for, so you have a carer, you're actually allowed 63 days of respite care, meaning that the carer is allowed to have a bit of a holiday from you and you can have 63 days in care under that respite arrangement. So you're still being looked after while your carer actually gets a break. The last one is the one that everybody thinks about, which is your nursing homes, your aged care facilities. And that's basically when you're actually not able to live at home anymore. It's not safe for you to be at home. You no longer can be independent, and you're actually going to be needing full-time medical care and medical support. And that's what your nursing homes, your aged care facilities are all for.
Yeah. A lot of people think aged care, I'm going into a facility, but those first couple of things you mentioned around, hey, there's packages available, there's help available, and I can stay in my own home. So that's a really good point there. So let's say I'm part of an elderly couple, or I'm getting elderly myself, or it might be my parents are getting old and I need to look into aged care for them. So what are the first steps in accessing care, and what's that actual process?
Okay, so first step is to find out what sort of care is out there. Because if you're thinking that I need nursing home, that might not be the case at all. So learning about the different levels of care that are out there, the ones that I was talking about. And a great place to do that is the My Aged Care website. So that's myagedcare.gov.au. Got a good explanation of the different levels of care and what's required or what's provided in those levels of care. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 then is get assessed. Now, the My Aged Care website helps you do that. It's got an internal assessment tool that you can use, and that in a way filters the sorts of levels of care that you need. Is it going to be the Commonwealth Home Support Program? Is it a home-based care concern, or do you actually need residential aged care? So that medical side of the story, what's your circumstances, what's your needs? My Aged Care website can help you do that. So you can go to the website, or you can give My Aged Care a call as well. So their phone number is 1800 200 422. So you can call them and have that assessment done either using their website or over the phone. The last step in that is to then find your facility. So with the assessment, there's going to be different service providers that are aimed or targeted at that particular level of assessment. So different people, for example, will provide the Commonwealth Home Support Program. They may be providing the home-based care through the home care packages as opposed to the nursing homes. Now, again, the great thing about the My Aged Care website is that it's got the list of each of those service providers in your local area. So there's a tool there that you can use. You plug in your postcode and it will tell you if you need home-based care, these are the service providers that work your postcode. If you're an aged care facility, these are the facilities in your area. And even this is the sort of lump sum those particular facilities ask for. So you get a great filter of, if I need this level of care, these are the providers of that particular level of care. I can then start working out which one of those providers is the most appropriate for me, or the one that seems to do what I want it to do, and then get in contact with them from that. So it's a great way of filtering down, targeting what the sort of services you need, and then giving you the names and details of the providers that give you that service.
So if I've done a bit of homework, yes, I think I know what I need. How do I start that process to actually get assessments done, which will help determine what level of care I need?
So again, My Aged Care website is the doorway into the aged care services. Lots of tools that we've talked about already. And again, you can give them a ring. But also, in addition to that, and something that I highly recommend, is Services Australia's Aged Care Specialist Offices. So across the country, Services Australia has a range of aged care specialist offices, and all they do is talk to people about the ins and outs of aged care. So it's a face-to-face interview if you're in one of the locations where they're there. But it doesn't matter if you're not, because they will also do a video conference interview for you as well. So you still get the opportunity to have that information in that conversation with a person, just video conferencing, so talking to somebody over the computer about going through those details. Now, those aged care specialist officers, they take the time to give you all the ins and outs of that. It is a free and impartial information-only service. So what they're not going to do is give you a recommendation of one facility over another facility. So if you're trying to decide between 3 nursing homes, the aged care specialist officer is not going to tell you which one is better or worse, because they're impartial. They're just going to say, these are what the facilities charge, these are the sorts of options you have, and then it's up to you to make that call. If you want to make an appointment with one of our aged care specialist officers, then you can give us a call. The phone number for these guys is 1-800-227-475. You can also just go into your local customer service centre and they can make an appointment for you through that. But I really can't sell their service enough, because with aged care, what we find is that, as you said, it's confusing. It's a difficult time. Often people haven't thought ahead. It's the sort of thing that we were pretending we weren't ever going to need it. Then mum or dad have had a fall. They've got to a hospital and the hospital said they just can't go home. We need to come up with this. And then we're finding out that people are asking for hundreds of thousands of dollars. We don't know what we're doing. So people come in confused, unsure about what their options are. You spend the time with an aged care specialist officer, they can go into quite level of detail for you, explaining the different services and the costs associated, and you really have a much more confident understanding of the system, where you or mum and dad fit into that system and what mum and dad's options are. So really can't sell that service enough. And considering it's free, impartial, why wouldn't you take advantage of it?
Yeah, leverage on the experts. That's my biggest tip there as well. They're there for a reason. Another big thing that I find, out and about speaking with people that comes up around aged care is that good old chestnut of cost.
Mm-hmm.
So interested if you could just give us an idea around the cost, if I'm getting that in-home care versus, what if I have to move into an aged care facility permanently? Upfront costs, how's that all work?
Sure. So starting with the in-home care services. So you've got the two, the Commonwealth Home Support Program and home care packages. With the Commonwealth Home Support Program, if you have the ability to provide, pay for some extra services, you will. So realistically, that one is actually something that you more negotiate with the service provider. And if you've got the capacity, then you're going to be paying for that capacity. So it's much more of a user affords. I can afford to do it, then I'll be expected to contribute to that one. But that's more a conversation between you and the Commonwealth Home Support Program provider. When you come to home-based care, then that's a little bit of a different story. So the first thing is, what we're going to talk about now requires an assessment by Services Australia. Now, I should clarify that. You do not have to have an assessment done by Services Australia if you don't want to. There's the medical assessment that My Aged Care helps you do, and they send experts out to you to work out what your medical needs are and what care might be the best for you. Then there's the assessment of your income and assets to work out what you would be expected to pay in the way of the bills, the daily fees. The more you have, the more you're expected to pay. So again, it's this concept of if I can afford it, I'm going to be expected to pay it. If you know, you're self-funded retiree, you know that there's no way you're going to get any of extra discounts because your income or assets are too high. You actually don't have to get an assessment done by Services Australia if you don't want to. Just tell the facility, charge me the full amount, and we'll take it from there. And if you want to get the reduced fees, you need to have an assessment done by Services Australia. Now, this applies for both home-based care and it also applies for residential aged care. So when it comes to the home care packages, as I said, there are 4 packages depending on your level of need, 1, 2, 3 or 4. You're actually charged a basic daily fee, and the level of daily fee that you charge is based on what level of package that you're accessing. So 1 is the cheapest, 4 is the most expensive. Now, when I say that, there's not a lot of difference between them all. We're only talking a couple of dollars a day difference between level 1 and level 4. Now, at the moment, as of the 20th of March, the cost for a level 4 package is $13.14 a day. And for level 1, it's cheaper than that. So you've got this basic daily fee that you'll be potentially required to pay. On top of that, you have something called an income tested fee. We're going to look at your assessable income and work out how much you may have to pay on a daily income tested fee. The maximum income tested fee that we're talking about is $37.70 a day. Again, depending on your level of assessable income, it could be less than that. If you know that you're going to be charged the maximum amount, then again, you don't need to bother an assessment. You can just say, charge me the maximum $37 a day and we'll take it from there. But lower income means lower income tested fee. And so that's how we work out what you're going to be paying. And we let you know, and then the service provider will charge you based on the information we give them about your circumstances.
Can I estimate how much I need to pay?
My Aged Care has a fee estimator that you can use. So there's lots of great tools there for you to play with for all sorts of levels of care. Certainly residential aged care and home-based care is on that tool as well.
Beautiful. Now, I want to move on to another common area that comes up around a family home. So if we've got a family home involved, we're looking at aged care. Do I need to sell the home? You know, if you could just kind of expand a little bit on that, because it is a common area that comes up.
Yeah, so before we look at the family home, we really should look at why, because when it comes to home-based care, there's no issue. You are in the home. We're not looking at it. There's no assets component to it. What you got to look at is the fees associated for residential aged care, which is the big one. So with residential aged care, there's going to be a lot more fees associated, and the family home may well be required to help cover those fees. So the first one you're looking at is your potential upfront lump sum, and it's called a refundable accommodation deposit. Now, it's called a refundable accommodation deposit because it is 100% refundable. So if you give them, for example, $550,000 as a refundable accommodation deposit, when you pass away or when you leave the facility, you will get back $550,000. Unless you dip into it as a way of funding some of your other costs, which is an option. But unless you do that, whatever you give them is what they're going to give back. Now, they're only going to give you back the lump sum. What they're not going to give you is the income that lump sum was going to generate, because this is how the system works. When you go to an aged care facility, if you give them that upfront lump sum, the refundable accommodation deposit, or RAD, then the facility takes that money and they invest it in ways that are determined by the government. So they're not allowed to be too risky. They have to be able to give you that deposit back at any moment, because things happen. So they're going to invest it, they're going to generate an income from it, and they use that income to help cover your accommodation costs for aged care. Now, if you choose not to give them the lump sum, then what you're actually doing is choosing to give them the income that they would have generated otherwise, and they call that a daily accommodation payment. So the daily accommodation payment is, in effect, an interest rate from the lump sum that they're not going to be able to generate because you didn't give them the investment. You're giving them that interest rate in return. And at the moment, it's 8.17%. So the daily accommodation payment is a smaller daily fee that you pay, and whatever that lump sum would have been. Again, when you leave, now because you haven't given them any lump sums, there's nothing to go back to you. You're just paying that money, and it's going to go and cover those costs. If you have less income, less assets, then you may not actually have enough to pay that full lump sum. And so you pay a part of it. And that's called a refundable accommodation contribution instead of a refundable accommodation deposit. So it's a RAC instead of a RAD. And that just means that you really don't have enough income or assets to cover the full amount. That's okay. You pay what you're able to, and that's what you're asked to do. It's really important to say that when you're actually in a residential aged care facility, you have two people in exactly the same rooms getting exactly the same levels of service. You are not going to know whether one of them paid a full RAD, one of them paid none at all, one of them paid a partial. It makes no difference to the medical care and the nursing care that you get when you go into that aged care facility, because if you don't pay it, the government pays the difference. So either way, you're getting the care that you need, but if you have the money to pay it, then you'll be expected to do that. So that's your upfront lump sum refundable accommodation deposit. The next one is called the basic daily fee. And everybody has to pay this. So everybody that's going into an aged care facility is required to pay a basic daily fee. 20th of March, that's $63.82 a day. It's actually linked to the rate of age pension. It's about 80 to 85% of the full rate of a single age pension. So when the age pension goes up, the basic daily fee goes up. Now that's not linked to your personal rate of age pension, it's linked to the full rate of age pension. But everybody is expected to pay that one. Again, it may be that that's all you pay, but everybody has to pay the basic daily fee. For those people that have enough in the way of income or assets, if you have to pay that full upfront lump sum, the refundable accommodation deposit, you will probably be also asked to pay something called a means-tested fee. And the means-tested fee is determined by, again, how much you earn, how much you own. If you're, again, that self-funded retiree that has a large amount of resources behind you, then you can again say, don't bother doing an assessment of me. I just agree to pay the maximum means-tested fee, because I know that if I go through all that process, you're going to ask me to pay the maximum means-tested fee anyway, so why bother? I'll just agree to pay that. And this is the really nice thing about the means-tested fee, because nobody who's in residential aged care gets no government support. Everybody in aged care is supported by the government. How much you're supported by the government depends on your income and assets, but everybody gets supported by the government. And this is particularly true when you think about the means-tested fee, because they are capped, meaning they've got an annual cap and a lifetime cap. The annual cap for the means-tested fee is $34,311.23. And the way that it works is that I enter aged care on the 20th of March. And I'm charged the maximum means-tested fee. We'll just say that's $200 a day. So that's a large amount of money that I'm paying, and I'm paying $200 a day. And I continue to pay that $200 a day until I reach $34,311.23, which might take 5, 6, 7 months to do. Then I don't pay that means-tested fee again. It stops. Comes around to the 20th of March next year, I'm back up again. They charge me $200 a day, again until I reach that $34,211.23, which again makes 7 months or so. Then the means-tested fee stops again. And all I'm paying at that point is the basic daily fee and other fees that might be associated. Third year comes around, 20th of March, start my third year. But I've now paid $68,000 in means-tested fees. Once I reach the annual cap of $82,347.13, I don't pay a means-tested fee again, ever. So that might take another 5 months. So after, realistically, 2.5 years, I never have to pay a means-tested fee ever again. So, in effect, what I could do is just put $82,000 or $84,000, say, in a bank account, and instead of worrying about how I'm going to fund this income, I just draw down on that bank account to pay the means-tested fee. And once I hit the cap of the $82,000 or so, that's it. That's the end of my means-tested fee. If I'm in care for another 2 years, another 3 years, whatever it might be, I never have to pay that means-tested fee again. The government makes up the difference. So regardless of how wealthy I am, if I'm in a residential aged care facility, government funding, I don't have to pay that means-tested fee once I've hit those caps. There's only a couple more fees. So we've been doing really, really well. We've looked at your upfront lump sum, your refundable accommodation deposit. We've looked at your basic daily fee that everybody has to pay, and we've looked at a means-tested fee. If I choose to go into a super luxury nursing home known as an extra care facility, first thing is that the lump sum that I pay may be higher. So the refundable accommodation deposit is actually, if you like, capped by the government at about $550,000 or so, meaning your standard nursing home can charge as much as market forces allow, up to $550,000. They can't go over that unless they get special permission because they're providing special types of services, what's known as an extra care facility. So they are allowed to charge as much. If they get approval to do it, then they can charge as much over that as they like. Again, government market forces determine how much that extra lump sum could be. So forget about $5.5 million. Where I am around Sydney, it could be $1 million, could be more. But you're paying for this super luxurious, lovely nursing home in order to make that happen. But on top of that upfront lump sum, they also get the right to charge an extra service fee. That extra service fee is not legislated. It's whatever the facility wants. So if you go into an extra care facility, then no, not only will you have to pay a larger lump sum, you're also going to be paying that larger extra service fee. This is not an accident. You know that going in. You've chosen actively to take that on board. You know that it's going to cost you more, but you say, hey, I've got the money. Why wouldn't I? This is giving me the best aged care experience that I can afford. Why wouldn't I do that and pay the money? Because it's me. Why don't I spend my money on myself? In addition to that, most facilities are now charging what they might call a service fee, or they might have different names for it. It's an extra amount of money that they charge. It can be for things like extra entertainment, art classes or dance classes or whatever it is that they might provide. It could be for wine with dinner, but they might charge an extra fee on top of the ones that we've talked about. That's something that you negotiate directly with the facility as well.
I love hearing that Services Australia, that the government are bringing back the term RAD. I haven't heard that for a long time. Now, we know, with the age pension, for example, there's different treatment. If I'm single, if I'm part of a couple, one's wants to stay in the home, one needs to go in aged care. What if I'm single? Are we looking at the same thing?
So this is where the home really comes into play as well. So the member of a couple or a single person in the home makes a big difference. So the big question about the family home is, do I need to sell the family home to go into aged care? And a lot of people think that's a requirement. And it absolutely isn't. There's no law that says you have to sell your home when you go to aged care. Now, realistically, it might be the best way for you to pay for your aged care, but that's a decision for you. And one of the reasons the daily accommodation payment exists is because it doesn't require an upfront lump sum. Therefore, you don't need to necessarily sell your home to do that. Now, that means we've got to look at it as a member of a couple. So when I'm a single person, the moment I enter a residential aged care facility, a fixed amount value of the home is going to be included in working out what I have to pay in that facility. So it's not the market value of the home, but it's a fixed figure. From Services Australia's age pension perspective, we are different. The moment you leave an aged care facility, if you leave the home, so you haven't sold it, the home actually remains an exempt asset for 2 years from the date you leave the aged care facility until that 2-year period has passed. So in effect, what we say is you still own the home, you're still a homeowner. It's just that you're living away from it because you're in the facility. So there's no asset value there. If you rent the home out during that time as a means to try and cover the costs, that rental income will be assessable income for the pension and is assessable income for the means tested fee. So you've got to take into account that you're doing that. But the home still remains an exempt asset. After 2 years, the family home is now treated as an investment property. You become a non-homeowner with access to the larger asset threshold, but you've now got this very large asset that can have a significant impact on the rate of pension that you're getting and therefore have an impact on your fees as well. It's very different when you're a member of a couple. So the first thing that happens when you're a member of a couple is that the actual rate of pension changes. You've got a normal pension a couple rate, and then you've got what we know as illness separated. There's no better terminology around it. It's really hard to say it other than illness separated. And what we're saying here is that you actually can't live together because one of you is unwell and needs to be taken care of, and so you're in the illness separated rate. Now, the illness separated rate, we're still looking at your combined income and assets, but your base pension is now 2 lots of the single rate of pension rather than combined couple rate of pension. So the pension rate goes up for both of you. And considering the basic daily fee is a proportion of the full rate of the single pension, then you need to have that increase to help cover the costs of aged care. So rule number 1 is we actually will increase your pension because you're illness separated. I will also say that you're illness separated even if you're in the same room in the nursing home and your bed's right beside each other, you are defined by us as still being illness separated even if you're together. But for Services Australia's perspective, And for the aged care facilities perspective, if your partner is still at home, then the home is not going to count. So if you go into care and your partner's in the home, the house does not count towards your aged care fees, and it's still an exempt asset for Services Australia. And it stays exempt as long as your partner is living in it. When your partner leaves, then the home becomes an assessable asset straight away based on that, again, that fixed figure for your aged care facility. But for Services Australia's perspective, that 2-year asset exemption starts then. So it doesn't start when you leave, but it starts when your partner leaves. So we still give you that 2 years from that point before the home becomes an assessable asset. And again, if you haven't sold it in that period of time, once the 2 years are over, you both become non-homeowners and the home is now treated as an investment property. Now, that's a lot of rules, a lot of complications. And in fact, one of the biggest issues that we find is that when mum and dad want to go into the facility together at the same time, and doing that can actually have a much bigger impact than you might have thought if you went one after the other. Again, this is where our aged care specialist officers and our financial information service officers are really able to make a difference there. So with an aged care specialist officer, you get the advantage of the whole picture. And I should say, and the financial information service does this as well. It's not just about the fees for this facility, but it's also about the pension. And then it's about how does the change in pension affect the fees for the facility. So putting all those components together in one big picture is what both of them can do. Again, if you want to have a chat with one of our aged care specialist officers, it's 1-800-227-475. If you want to speak to the financial information service, then you give us a call on 132300 and say the words financial information service when you ask for the reason for the call. Again, impartial, information only, but experts in all the pension changes. They can talk all that stuff through for you.
Can't recommend the financial information service officers enough. They're fantastic. Anytime I've come across them as well. Obviously, we're called Super Insider. We do a heck of a lot of episodes and information about all things super. Is there anything for our listeners to think about when it comes to superannuation balances, aged care, and is there anything they need to think about planning ahead as they get older?
Yeah, so there are two real things about super when it comes to aged care. And the first one is if you've moved your super, so in retirement, your super's in an income stream and account-based pension, and you've chosen your level of drawdown. You've got the minimums that you're required to do, but you can do over that as much as you want. And you go into aged care and you think, I'm going to start using my superannuation as a way of covering these costs. So I need to increase my drawdown as a means to help cover the costs of aged care as one of the options that you have. With both Services Australia and aged care, for most new account-based pensions, they're what we call a deemed financial asset, meaning that the income that we assess from that is based on our fixed deeming rates, which at the moment are 0.25% and 2.25%. So at most, we're saying you're generating an income of 2.25% from your account-based pension. So what you're drawing down is not actually relevant for the assessment of the income for aged care. So if you choose to draw down more, that actually won't have any impact on your pension rate on your aged care facility because we're not basing it on your level of drawdown, we're basing it on 2.25%. So if you feel that that is a way to try and help cover your aged care costs, know that if you do that and increase your drawdown, your pension won't change. So there's not a pension consequence of going down that path, which is a great way to use an income stream if that's something that you want to do. The bigger one, though, is that idea of planning ahead. The benefit of having assets, having wealth when you're looking at aged care is about choices. Now, if I am a person that has nothing else, so if I'm getting a full rate of pension and I don't have a property, I've been renting my entire life and I go into aged care, I will only be required to pay the basic daily fee. I've got no assets behind me. My pension covers that and I have a little bit of money left over. What I don't have necessarily is choice. I can't necessarily choose which facility I go to because I've just got to get one that's got a bed available for me. So using this time to build up your resources means you get to enjoy a standard of aged care as well as retirement that might be better suited for you. So why wouldn't you?
So if you've done really well and yet your kids are still encouraging you to move into an aged care home that's further away from them, you probably need to be a bit sus on your kids. And
there are a few dynamics going on there that you do need to work through for sure.
Yeah, need to be having some serious words. Now, like anything, we know there's a lot of myths, a lot of misinformation out there, and obviously in your role, you would come across them all. What would be, the most common bits of misinformation or myths that you come across when it comes to aged care?
Yeah, we've heard a few. So the biggest one is that I'm invincible and I'll never need aged care. And that's more I'm going to close my eyes and just hope. I don't want to know about it, don't want to think about it, and then it becomes an urgent issue and it's emergency, and then I've got minutes and days to make decisions about what facility mum and dad needs to go into and how we're going to fund it and what interest rate are they charging and where are we going to come up with this sort of money. So much high pressure. You can have an assessment by Services Australia of your income and assets done before you enter an aged care facility. You can do that when you don't need it, and it stays valid, I think, for about 6 months in case you need it at some point in the future. But not even doing that, just talking about this sort of stuff before you need it means that I understand the terminology. I know what a RAD is in comparison to a DAP. I understand how a means-tested fee is different to a basic daily fee. The pressure that takes off people is amazing. So closing your eyes and pretending I'm not ever going to need it is not going to be helpful for you and the family. The second one, and we come across this a lot, is I'm telling the kids they're not allowed to put me into a nursing home. I'm going to stay in the home until I die, which is all well and good. But the practical issue is that the home is not designed to look after a bed-bound person. There's machinery that they're involving to protect people's backs. It's not just the nursing care, because you can pay for a nurse to come through, but have you got the ability to actually physically equip the house that's required to provide the services that is available at a nursing home? So saying that's all well and good, but if you're making the kids be put into a really difficult position that I know I can't look after mum or dad at home, but they've told me I'm never allowed to put them into an aged care facility, well, what am I supposed to do? Again, I'm not giving them the best lifestyle options by putting those sorts of rules into place. So they're the big ones. Some of the other ones that we have is it's too expensive. Can't afford it. They're talking about $550,000 or more, but we've already said it's a user affords system. So if I have the money and I can afford to, I'm going to be expected to pay it. If I don't have the money, then I'm not expected to pay it. And in a standard nursing home, you wouldn't be able to tell somebody who's been able to pay more, who's paid less from the nursing side of things. So the care they get is exactly the same. You're not missing out if you don't have the money to pay for it. There's extras and luxuries that you might not be able to access that other people might, but the standard levels of care are the same regardless of what you're able to provide to cover the cost of that care. So it isn't too expensive if you don't have the money to do that. Even if you do have the money, we've already talked about, it's capped. So yes, you might have to pay a large amount, but only for a short period of time, and then it's much cheaper from that point onwards. And the last one is I have to sell my home to do it. There are all sorts of options available. And again, this is where you're talking to the aged care specialist officers or even professionals, financial planners, whatever it might be. Borrowing against the home, there's other people funding, there's using super to do it. There's all sorts of different options rather than having to actually sell the home. It isn't necessarily a long-term solution because, again, in 2 years, the home does become an assessable asset. So still can have an impact on everything in 2 years' time. But there are certainly lots of other choices out there. But you need to know them and you need to talk to professionals or talk to the aged care specialist officers to understand what you're getting yourself into.
Preparing yourself before you need it, even doing that bit of investigation, that bit of education, because, you don't want to be faced with an emergency and then you're scrambling to try and find information. So the earlier you can do homework and research, the better. Now, as we come to a close, where would you suggest is the next best place for our listeners to go to start that education journey, find out more in a safe place? Because we know that particularly when we're dealing with online, there's a lot of people out there trying to catch your eye and lead you up the garden path.
So the first one is my aged care website, myagedcare.gov.au, or you can give them a ring again on 1-800-200-422. Huge amount of starting information explaining the different levels of care, everything that we've talked about. Great source of information there, quite easy to read, quite easy to navigate, as well as all their fun tools about what sort of level of care do I need, what facilities are in the area and how much do they charge, and also have a fee estimator to give you an idea of what it might actually cost me in a nursing home or in home-based care. So my aged care website is great. The other one, not a surprise, Services Australia's aged care specialist officers. That's 1-800-227-475. Ring up, make an appointment, go to your local office, make an appointment, either in face or video conference to spend the time with you and the family if you want them, because if you want them involved, then absolutely you can invite them along to that, that's fine. Solidify what you need to know and where I need to go from here. Again, not with any advice, not with any sales, because there is no sales. It's all about just providing the information you need to make the right decisions.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Justin, for joining us once again. Folks, that's all we've got time for today on today's episode of Super Insider. We covered general information. If you want to know what's right for you, don't forget, speak to a financial advisor. Aged care is a specialised field, so there is financial advisors that actually specialise in that area. And if I'm getting towards the end of my working career and I think I might need aged care, get your adult kids involved. They're going to be helping you make some important decisions. So I can't stress that enough as well. If you would like to listen to any more episodes of Super Insider, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Super Insider.